good evening, and welcome. Tonight we're going to be reading this book called Discovering Cultures Korea. I checked out this library book when I was doing my series on South Korea, and as I read it, I realized that it's not about South Korea, it's about the whole Korean peninsula, North and South Korea. So I thought I'll save this for when I'm doing North Korea. So here we are. So let's just dive right in and read about Korean culture. Cute faces. We're going to read Where in the World is Korea? What makes Korea Korean? Living in Korea. School days. Just for fun. And let's celebrate. And maybe some of these. I'm not sure. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Where in the world is Korea? Korea is located on the continent of Asia. A continent is one of the 7 large land masses on Earth. Korea is a peninsula that sticks out 600 miles into the sea. It is divided into 2 countries, North Korea and South Korea. Between North and South Korea is an area called the Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ. The DMZ is a narrow strip of land just 2.5 miles wide. It stretches across the entire peninsula for 150 miles. It was created at the end of the Korean War to separate North Korea and South Korea. You can see it right here. The DMZ is fenced with razor wire and is guarded on both sides so that no one crosses without permission. North Korea is a little smaller than the state of Mississippi. It shares a border with China and Russia in the north. The Sea of Japan is to the east. The DMZ and South Korea lie to the south. The Yellow Sea, which is also called the West Sea, borders North Korea on the west. High mountains covered with forests are found in North Korea. Its highest mountain is Baekdusan, which rises 9,003 feet above sea level. Minerals such as coal are mined in North Korea. Only a little land is good for farming. North Korea has hot summers and long, dry, cold winters. Autumn and spring are short, but colorful seasons. South Korea is a little larger than Indiana. South Korea borders the DMZ and North Korea on the north. The Sea of Japan, or East Sea, lies to the east. Like North Korea, the Yellow Sea borders South Korea on the west. Off its coasts are thousands of tiny islands that also belong to South Korea. Farms on the plains in the southwestern part of the country provide most of the people's food. The southern Yellow Sea provides shellfish and edible seaweed to South Korea. To the east and south are waters filled with fish such as shrimp, salmon, and squid. Much of South Korea is covered with hills and mountains, but they are not as high as those in North Korea. South Korea's highest mountain is a volcano called Mount Hara. It is on Jeju Island, off the southern coast. Mount Hara is 6,600 feet tall. Like North Korea, South Korea has hot summers and long, cold winters. Winter is not as cold in South Korea as it is in North Korea. South Korea's dry air makes the snow disappear, so it does not usually get too deep. There are many lakes and rivers in Korea. The longest river in North Korea is the Amnakgang. It is 493 miles long. Other major rivers include the Yarukang and the Taedonggang. North Korea has many man-made lakes. The largest natural lake is Chonji at the top of Baekdusan. The Hankang is the longest river in South Korea. It is 321 miles long. Other major rivers are the Kumgang, Nakdonggang, and Somjingang. The Soyangho and Chunjuho are major man-made lakes. They use the old romanization style. It's so annoying. The new one's so much better. Korean plant life changes from place to place depending on the climate. In the cold mountains, juniper and spruce trees grow tall. In warm places, there are pine and poplar trees. Fruit trees include apple, pear, peach, and orange trees. Ginkgo trees, whose leaves turn yellow in autumn, also grow nuts. Korea's most famous plant is ginseng. Its roots are believed to increase strength and health. As a result, ginseng is used in many foods, drinks, and medicines. The Rose of Sharon, South Korea's national flower, blooms throughout the summer. Korea is home to a variety of birds and animals. A type of woodpecker and the Manchurian crane have been named living national treasures in South Korea. This means they are protected by the government. Herons are found throughout Korea. Wildcats and brown bears thrive in the DMZ. In the mountains, deer, weasels, badgers, boars, and bears can be found. There are also many kinds of snakes. There's some ginseng growing. What makes Korea Korean? Today, about 22 million people live in North Korea. About 48 million people make their home in South Korea. North Koreans call Korea Joseon, which means land of the morning calm. South Koreans call it Hanguk, which means great nation. The official language of Korea is Korean. However, there are differences in the language in the two Koreas. North Koreans speak a form of Korean using some different words and grammar than South Koreans. The Korean language includes many Chinese words. However, North Koreans do not use Chinese characters in newspapers and magazines. South Koreans do use Chinese characters in everyday printed materials. Many non-Koreans live in Korea. The largest group of non-Koreans is the Chinese in South Korea. In recent years, more and more Chinese and South Asians have moved to South Korea looking for work. A large group of people from the American military also lives there. Thousands of U.S. soldiers are stationed in South Korea. They help to patrol the DMZ. North Korea's official name is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Its government is communist. The government is made up of three branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. The head of the executive branch is a dictator. He runs the country. South Korea's official name is the Republic of Korea. Like the United States, its government is a republic. Also like the United States, the government is made up of three branches: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. The head of the executive branch is a president elected by the people. The president is the leader of the country. The government of North Korea does not allow religion. However, it has allowed some religious groups to make it look like there is religious freedom in the country. A small number of North Koreans follow Buddhist, Christian, or folk religions. Folk religions include the belief that spirits live in nature. South Koreans have religious freedom. They follow Roman Catholicism, Protestantism, or other branches of Christianity. Some are Buddhists, while a few practice Confucianism. Folk religions are also followed. Many South Koreans combine parts of Christianity, Buddhism, and folk religions. Music, dance, literature, and art are important to Korean culture. Korean folk music is used in celebrations and rituals. The two most popular instruments in traditional Korean music are the kumungo and the kayagum. Both are flat boxes with strings stretched across. The strings are plucked with a pick or with the fingers. Another well-known Korean instrument is the chango, right here. The chango is an hourglass drum that can be hung around the neck and struck with drumsticks. 3 kinds of traditional Korean dances are ritual, folk, and court. Ritual dances come from Confucian and Buddhist customs. Folk dances are performed in colorful costumes to celebrate important events such as harvests. Court dances are slow. Long ago, they were performed for the country's rulers. Many famous writers have come from Korea. In North Korea, Lee Young-gil writes about North Korean history. Yi Chung-sik writes about North Korean history and government. In South Korea, a famous poet, Kim So-wol, wrote about nature. Other writers such as Shin Kyung-nim and Park Kyung-ni wrote about the South Korean government and Korean life. The best-known writer of children's stories and songs in North and South Korean was Yoon Suk-jung. I don't know why. Anyway, Korean art uses symbols that stand for a long life. These symbols include the sun, the moon, clouds, water, rocks, bamboo, and cranes. They are used in painting, embroidery, and pottery. Perhaps the best known art form in Korea is Celadon pottery, which Koreans have been making since around the year 1050. People all over the world collect Celadon pottery. Most South Koreans wear American-style clothing, including suits, pants, and shirts with colorful neckties for men. Women wear suits, dresses, skirts, and blouses. Jeans and t-shirts are popular when Koreans are not at work. In North Korea, men and women mostly wear American-style clothes. North Korea sells products such as minerals and military equipment to other countries. South Korea sells electronics, cars, clothing, and fish. South Korea sells more products to the United States than to any other country in the world. Living in Korea. For much of Korea's history, most of the people lived and worked on the farms of landowners. The most important crop was rice, Korea's main food. Today's North Korean farmers live and work on farms owned by the government. They are not able to grow much food because of a long drought. This period of little rain began in the mid-1990s. South Korean farmers own small pieces of land, usually about 2 acres each. Most Koreans, however, have moved from the countryside to work in factories in the cities. Railroads are the main way people in North Korea get from one city to another. Few North Koreans own cars, so most roads in North Korea are not paved. People within cities and towns walk or ride bicycles to get from place to place, while railroads are used throughout South Korea. Cars are common in that country. Paved roads help South Koreans get from one place to another quickly. Because city streets are so crowded with cars, buses, and taxis, many people in the cities walk or ride a bicycle. City-dwelling Koreans in both countries live mostly in apartment buildings. Some live in houses outside the big cities. Because so many Koreans live in the cities, their apartments are usually small. A sofa, coffee table, television, and stereo fill the living room, while American-style beds and dressers are found in the bedrooms. Some Koreans sleep on the floor on a mattress called a yo, which is rolled up during the daytime. The floor is a warm place to sleep because homes are heated by pipes under the floor. Most South Korean homes include a computer. Few North Koreans have computers. This is because the government does not want the people to get information from the outside world through the internet. Most Koreans sit in chairs around kitchen tables to eat their meals. In some homes and in Korean restaurants, the people eat their meals off low tables while they are seated on cushions on the floor. Koreans always take off their shoes before they enter a home or a temple. In the countryside, Koreans live in villages and small towns. South Koreans grow rice, barley, and vegetables such as cabbage and radishes. North Koreans try to grow as much food as they can, including rice, vegetables, and fruit. North and South Koreans in coastal villages make their living by fishing. Family ties are important to North and South Koreans. Many members of the same family often live in the same neighborhood. While fathers work outside the home, mothers usually work at home, caring for the house and children. For 100 days after a baby is born, only family members may see the child. After 100 days, a day-long ceremony is held. At that time, neighbors and friends may visit the baby. In North Korea, Pyongyang is the capital city and the economic, cultural, and political center of the country. The city has many monuments, statues, museums, and one of the largest stadiums in the world. Seoul is the capital city of South Korea and the center of South Korean life. Mixed in with the modern buildings are very old palaces and temples. The Hankang flows through the city. Visitors enjoy modern theme parks, museums, art galleries, and festivals. A typical Korean meal is made up of rice, vegetables, and fruit. Koreans near the coast add fish to their meals. The national dish of both North and South Korea is kimchi. Kimchi is a spicy dish usually made of pickled cabbage or radishes. It is seasoned with garlic, red peppers, and ginger. Kimchi is no longer common in North Korea because of food shortages caused by the drought. Other countries, including the United States, have tried to help by sending food, but the North Korean government has not given it to the people. Millions of North Koreans have starved to death. Many survive by eating grass, roots, and tree bark. No one knows when the drought and lack of food will end. Meanwhile, here's a bunch of yummy Korean-looking food. Seaweed. In South Korea, rice is the main ingredient in meals. Soups are made with vegetable broth and meat, shellfish or vegetables. Bulgogi, barbecued beef, and karbi, barbecued pork ribs, are the most popular meat dishes. Bulgogi and karbi are made with ginger, garlic, and onions. Small pieces of bulgogi and rice are wrapped in lettuce leaves and eaten by hand. Banchan, or side dishes, are eaten with the main meals. They usually include vegetables, meats, seaweed, bean curd, or seafood. Usually 8 or 7 side dishes are served with every meal. South Koreans may drink a cup of tea after eating. North Koreans like to drink tea too when it is available. Neither North nor South Koreans eat sweets for dessert. Instead, they enjoy fresh fruit. On holidays and special occasions in South Korea, dessert may be made up of small cakes of sweetened rice and nuts. School days. All children in North Korea must go to school for 11 years. They start school at age 5. Children attend 1 year of kindergarten, 4 years of primary school, and 6 years of secondary school. Students in primary school, which North Koreans call People's School, study the Korean language, history, mathematics, physical education, art, music, and communism. After People's School, students either enter a regular secondary school or one that specializes in music, art, or foreign languages. These schools also teach subjects such as history and mathematics. Students in all secondary and specialty schools in North Korea learn English. Beginning at the age of 16, North Korean men must join the country's military for at least 7 years. Women have recently been required to join as well. Students who are not able to join the military may continue their education, but they have to receive permission from the government. The government decides what the students will study. For example, a student who received good grades in math and science in secondary school will be sent to medical school or to learn to develop weapons for the North Korean military. All children in South Korea must go to school until they finish 9th grade. Education is divided into 4 levels: 6 years of primary school, 3 years of middle school, 3 years of high school, and 4 years of college. Children can attend preschool until they begin school at age 6. Elementary schools are free. South Korean students in elementary school study Korean, English, social studies, math, science, physical education, music, and fine arts. They also receive moral education. This teaches them to be good citizens, to treat others fairly, and to respect the country's laws and traditions. Fees are charged in the middle and high schools as well as in college or technical schools. Military service of just over 2 years is required of all young Korean men. They usually attend college for 2 years, complete their military service, then finish the final 2 years of college. Students in North Korea wear uniforms to school. They go 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. In South Korea, most students wear uniforms whether they attend public, private, or religious school. South Korean students attend classes 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. The school day begins at about 8 a.m. and ends at about 3 p.m. In North Korea, Saturday school hours are from about 8 a.m. to 12 or 1 p.m. In both North and South Korea, the school year is divided into 2 parts. The first half, or semester, starts in March and lasts through June. The second semester begins in September and ends in late December. During July and August, students have summer vacation. From the end of December through February is winter vacation. In both North and South Korea, students are expected to work hard at school. They do not have many chores at home. When they are not at school, children in both countries play games and sports or do homework. Many South Korean students take private lessons in art, music, or foreign language. Only the wealthiest North Korean students are able to take private lessons. Just for fun. Korea has all 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. Winter is usually colder in North Korea than South Korea. Winter sports such as skiing, ice skating, and speed skating are popular in South Korea. In warm weather, Koreans in both countries enjoy hiking, mountain climbing, and bike riding. South Koreans who live near the coasts swim, water ski, and windsurf in the ocean. Summer resorts on the west coast of North Korea are popular places for those who live nearby. North Koreans are not allowed to travel within their country without government permission, so most do not go far from home for vacation. There are not a lot of public parks in Korea because there is not enough land, but many apartment buildings have playgrounds where children can play. The North Korean government controls all parts of North Korean life. Radio, television, newspapers, and magazines are all owned by the communist government. The government must approve of everything the people hear, see, and read. Villages have loudspeakers over which communist radio stations are heard. Anything that goes against communism is not allowed. South Korea has much more freedom than North Korea. Understatement. South Koreans are free to choose their own activities. They spend their time enjoying video games, movies, theater, concerts, dance performances, and sporting events. Many Korean games were first played in China long ago. Two board games are Tingly and Paduk. Tingly is the Korean version of chess. Paduk is played with small black and white stones. That's cute. The North Korean government allows the people to play Tingly and Paduk. In sports, soccer is the most popular, followed by baseball, volleyball, and table tennis or ping pong. Golf is popular in South Korea. Even though there is not a lot of land, there are many golf courses in that country. Many Koreans in both countries practice Taekwondo, an ancient form of self-defense. In North Korea, people exercise and play sports at government-owned gyms. The communist government pays athletes such as boxers, wrestlers, and weightlifters to train and compete for the country. Winning athletes receive cars or large apartments as rewards from the government. In South Korean cities, people shop in department stores or outdoor marketplaces. In the marketplaces, they can buy clothing, food, jewelry, and crafts. In Seoul, for example, the streets and sidewalks are always crowded with people working, shopping, or visiting museums. Visitors to Seoul enjoy touring the sites of 4 very old palaces. North Korean cities have a few department stores, but there is little to buy. Outdoor markets are not common in North Korea. Did you know that karaoke machines came to the United States from Asia? Karaoke started in Japan, but it is popular in South Korea. In some cities and towns, karaoke halls are favorite places to visit. They are open from early in the morning until late at night. Entire families go to them, especially on Sundays, to spend a fun day together. Let's celebrate. In North Korea, there are 2 national holidays. May Day is celebrated on May 1st. Parades showing North Korea's military strength attract thousands to Pyongyang. On September 9th, North Koreans celebrate the founding of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. Some Korean festivals take place in the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar is based on the moon's trip around Earth. The moon travels completely around Earth once every 29 to 30 days. So each month in the lunar calendar is only 29 or 30 days long. In South Korea, the first big holiday of the year is Lunar New Year in late January or early February. This 3-day holiday is called Seollal. On Seollal, people dress up in hanbok and visit older relatives. Seollal celebrations are a time when families gather to eat large meals and play games. Grown-ups give gifts of money to their children and young relatives. Come on. There we go. In North and South Korea, Buddha's birthday is celebrated on the 8th day of the 4th lunar month, usually May. It honors Buddha, the founder of Buddhism. The holiday is often called the Feast of the Lanterns. Many colorful paper lanterns decorate Buddhist temples as well as homes and streets. National holidays in South Korea celebrate important events in Korean history. March 1st is Independence Movement Day. This is the day Koreans celebrate their 1919 fight against the Japanese. Japan invaded Korea in 1910 and ruled over it until 1945. Liberation and Independence Day is celebrated on August 15th. It marks the day Japanese rule ended. It also marks the day in 1948 when the Republic of Korea was founded. In South Korea, May 5th is Children's Day. Children have the day off from school and receive gifts from their parents. Chuseok, or Thanksgiving, is celebrated in the lunar month of September. Christmas is celebrated on December 25th in North and South Korea, but it is not a religious holiday in North Korea. Seol is a South Korean celebration of a child's first birthday. The child is dressed in hanbok and seated in front of a table. The table is covered with food and objects such as money, books, pens and pencils, thread, and toys. The child is encouraged to reach for something on the table. If the child picks up the money, it is believed he or she will grow up to be rich. If the child chooses a book, he or she will do well in school. Choosing a pen or a pencil means the child will become a writer. Thread means he or she will live a long life. The ceremony is a happy time for the child's family and friends. It is followed by a large feast. The guests give gifts to the child and money to the parents. I think that's going to be the end for tonight. Let me look through. Is there anything else to read in here? Yeah, it's going to be it for tonight. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found this video relaxing and educational. And I hope that you have a very good night.